welcome to episode 23 of The Leap Home, All Americans.
In this week's episode, Sam must lead a high school football team to the city championship and earn a scholarship to play at college by preventing his closest friend from throwing the title game. With a shady landlord poised to put Sam's friend and his mother out on the street if the team doesn't lose, can he persuade the young man to do the right thing, or will their big game end in a painful defeat?
Well, since my baby left me down, I found a new place to...
Too bad you ain't Elvis.
Yeah, be great to sing like that.
Good morning, Ian. How are we?
Not too bad, Gerry. Morning where you are?
Certainly is.
Okay. How are you feeling?
Like Elvis.
You able to sing, or just that you want to die in the toilet?
Overweight, constipated.
How did you enjoy this week's episode?
I liked it.
I don't think any of those kids looked like they were in high school.
Nah, we've had this before, haven't we?
But not even close.
No.
Like Sam didn't look out of place. And we got the seediest side of Al out again.
Overstepped the mark, I think.
A couple of times.
Yeah. Especially in America. I suppose depends what state you're in, but in many states in America, 18 would be the limit we're referring to, whereas in the UK, back in the day, 16 was always acceptable.
Yeah, still not acceptable for 50-odd-year-old men to go in.
Not legally acceptable, I'm talking about.
Yeah. If anyone wants to discuss the age of consent with us, social media handles are at Leap Home Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. We're at The Leap Home on Facebook. There's show notes up at theleaphome.com, and as we always say, we prefer you to go to YouTube each week to Columbo Podcast Productions, where you will find the episodes 1 week ahead of normal release, so you can feel a bit special.
Just to clarify, anyone who wants to discuss that, please make sure you are over 18.
Or 16, depending where you're from.
No, I think our line is 18, and because it makes me feel a bit dodgy when I ask people to use Snapchat.
Oh, right, okay, yes.
18's over 18's
no Snapchats about the age of consent either.
Yeah, let's crack on.
No message this week because they've given it up for the voiceover.
They have. It was a sultry voice.
Slightly, I would say, modified voice of Deborah Pratt.
Mm-hmm. Quite nice.
Yeah, it was fine. The voice, the words that they use aren't the final settled version, I don't think, at this stage. Some of it's a little bit clunky about trying to prove his theories or lose funding.
Yeah, who cares?
Well, that answers a question you've been asking.
Yeah, that's true.
Why did he jump into the... Let's just slip it into the intro. Not ever discuss it in the show. Same about wanting to leap home that he never says. Anyhow, we get through that. He is now, as we saw at the end of last week's show, quarterbacking a high school football team, and there's a strange sort of play going on. It ends up with him throwing a wobbly pass that his pal catches and scores the winning touchdown with.
Yeah, he complains for some reason that he could have been killed, but surely you know how, or he knows how the sport works.
Well, you would have thought so. But he wasn't really given any time to prepare for them hitting him.
That's true. I think we get 2 old boys in this opening segment.
He's really into it.
Ian, you're an American football fan. Now, I'm no expert. I've watched a few games or two back in the day. I've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Back in the late 80s when it became big for the first time in the UK.
Sure. Watching
the Chicago Bears, the refrigerator and all that, you Dan Marino and all that sort of stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
When Johnny Elway was terrible and had never won a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the thing, wasn't it? I'm sure.
Well, I'm not sure he was terrible. He was good and hadn't won a Super Bowl.
Okay.
He got a couple at the end of
New
his
England,
career.
I know for a fact, they were terrible back then.
They were absolutely awful.
Garbage. Anyway, so I'm no expert. However, in this opening segment, Sam as a quarterback throws the ball and then in the same play, he gets it back. That seems unlikely. It doesn't happen. It's not rugby.
So he doesn't throw the ball. He's hit and drops the ball.
Right.
And then it's lateraled back to him. So as long as they haven't gone across the line of scrimmage, they can give it back to the quarterback or another player to throw it.
Sure, but does that happen often, that he loses the ball then gets it back?
Very rarely. It's usually a trick play that's been drawn up. It wouldn't normally be done spontaneously like this.
Okay. Anyway, we return to the stadium after the credits. We're on the screen, we're told it's what year and what date.
November the 6th, 1962.
And we see cheerleaders encouraging an excited crowd while the commentator is puzzled as to why Sam, in his guise as Eddie Vega, is not making an obvious pass.
He's just standing there, they say, but he does, like we say, send this sort of wobbly duck flutter ball downfield, and his pal does catch it. He evades a couple of defenders and scores.
His pal's Chuy Martinez, is that right?
Yes, he is. We cut briefly to a man and a woman celebrating with the most uncomfortable piece of exposition that's been rammed into a single piece of dialogue in the history of television.
Tell me about it.
He picks her up and says, "You're Chewy and my Eddie won." As if she doesn't know who's in the game or why they're watching the game.
Yeah. So this is Eddie's father, is it Manuel?
Manuel.
And Chewy's mother, Celia.
Yes, he apologises for getting too excited and she laughs.
Well, I think what we discover here is that they both enjoy this embrace, but then realise that perhaps they shouldn't, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And they try to compose themselves and pretend it didn't happen to an extent.
Yes, and we see him lifting a child up. He seems to have some sort of food truck
Yeah.
that he's working from, and we then get another cut to a man in the crowd of the game collecting winnings, obviously.
Yeah, I've noted he's a very shady looking mustachioed character who takes money from an unhappy older man who wonders how he does it.
He reminded me a bit of Gomez Adams.
Yeah. Raul Julia.
Yeah, with the sort of slicked hair and the...
That sort of pencil tash never really looks good, does it?
Except for William Shatner in that Columbo episode.
That was good, yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah. On the field, Al compares the pass to a $10 hooker.
Yeah, I've noted here that this is a 2022 veto on this particular joke. I think he's maybe made this exact joke before as well in season 1.
No, he refers to a cheap hooker, but in this case, what he actually says is it's like a $10 hooker. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done.
Yes.
And they both think it will be their shortest ever leap and prepared to move on. So they're hoping that making that pass was what they were there to do.
Yeah. Sam's awfully arrogant. Oh yeah, I did that. That was fine. Easy.
Surely Al would know.
Well, he says, let's just wait a minute. He might just be humouring Sam. I'm not sure. But at this point, a teammate comes up to Sam and thumps him on the shoulder pads, knocking him to the ground, which Al, despite not knowing what they're there for or anything else, knows is a team ritual for this specific high school football team.
Yeah, I think he's checking Ziggy as this is going on. And then he experiences it, I think, for a second time. Someone else comes up.
Yeah, another teammate. I think it seems to be a thing they all do.
We head to the locker room. Spirits are high, but Sam has to be helped with his own locker by Chewy, claiming that he has forgotten the combination.
Chewy reckons they've rung his bell good during the game.
Yeah, and in the mirror we see that Sam is a youngish Latino-looking chap.
Yes. Chewy asks whether he saw any of the scouts that were out there and says they need to stick together and sign for the same college.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to favour the
less talented player.
Yes, it's like, whatever we do. And the fact that he's insisting upon that. Although I think, from what I can gather, Chewy is the better prospect, is that right?
I think they're both decent prospects at this point. But I don't, it's some of those things that you say, but if they got different offers that they both like, they probably wouldn't stick to this.
No, we'll give you the equivalent of the $10 million contract. Yeah, only if my pal can come along.
Yeah, no.
That's not happening, is it?
Well, I suppose it would depend how highly valued they were as a prospect. If he says, well, UCLA say I can bring my pal with a scholarship and USC say no, we're not, then they might say, well,
we'll take the
we'll
both,
match it. Yeah,
because we want the star.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Anyhow, Chewy does a quick concussion test. I'm not sure if he's qualified. On Sam, tells him to take it easy tonight and stay away from Carla.
And at this point, the coach enters with an insult about the winning pass.
It says the ugliest pass he's seen in 32 years of coaching, but he loved it.
And shows this by giving him another celebratory shoulder thump, as we hear "Big Girls Don't Cry" play in the background.
And Sam struggles a bit to get his pads off.
Yes. I mean, I imagine the sort of gear back in the day was quite
all laced up and stuff, yeah. We went to an after party. Yeah.
Sam is brill creaming by the looks of it. It's that night. So did he go straight from the locker room to...
Yeah, you would think so.
Because we don't... Yeah,
but Sam seems quite relaxed by this point, like really quickly. Seems to be like happy with what he's doing, where he is, but then forgets how to open a bottle of Coke and when Diet Coke was invented.
Yeah, because at this point, this Carla, she sexily asks him for a cola, and there's a sort of a nod to Back to the Future here.
You think it is?
Well, yeah, because if you remember in that, Marty McFly goes to the diner and he says, give me a Pepsi free.
And they don't have it.
Yeah, because they've
it's
got
not been
Pepsi, you have to
invented.
pay for it.
Yes, he then also tries to unscrew a bottle cap, which even now you don't really get screw-on caps like that.
No.
Maybe in the 90s it was a brief
Mhm.
period of screw-on caps. Anyhow,
Yeah, but I think Chewie, he hands him an opener and sneers at Sam's what he thinks is an apparent act of
a machismo.
machismo.
Yeah. Carla, who I assume this is that's talking to him, keeps dropping in random Spanish phrases as if she's trying to ingratiate herself with these guys.
Yes. She wanders off in any case, and Sam's dad also warns him to stay away from girls who walk like that. What's he doing looking at these girls and how they're walking?
Oh, he doesn't have to stay away from them.
He can watch, yeah. And advises him to concentrate on med school.
At that point, the woman he was celebrating with earlier, who is Celia, Chewie's mother, shows up and hears him talking about scouts from UCLA being at the game.
Yeah, and promises her that it will definitely happen. He's definitely going to get this offer. But she is not happy that they may have to go to Texas.
Yeah, the note that I've made here is she only just now realising how college recruitment works, like two games before the end of the final season. So, he might not go to university next door.
Yeah, that's a point. Because surely they would have discussed his top choices.
Well, you would have thought so, or at least possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, at this point, Manuel tries a little line on Celia, but it doesn't go down very well.
And the subject is changed when Sam asks what's in the pot.
Yep, Al shows up from somewhere, lighting a cigar, and tells him it's a Mexican soup. I think it's got grits and tripe in it,
Yes.
which he thinks sounds like the name of a pop group,
Yeah.
or Sam does, which confuses everybody yet again. It's like, what are you doing, Sam? Taking references from your own life.
Yeah, and when Celia mentions that she has forgotten some salsa, I'll tell Sam to go and get it so that they can have a talk
Well, that makes sense.
private. Yeah, it's a good
Somebody's thinking.
for once. And there's a scene later on we'll get to, which is atrocious
Yeah.
for this.
So these two are in the kitchen where Al tells Sam that he's been away perving in the 16-year-old cheerleaders since the game ended.
Yes, it's... Let's say Al, he always walks the line. But normally it's just general perviness about women in general, but this is, not nonsense.
Well, there was the kamikaze one when he's watching them change and trying dresses on and stuff.
What age were they?
They were older, but he was still watching them change without them knowing he was there.
Oh, yeah, but we know that. You know he does that, but there's a line that you draw between,
Children?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In any case, Sam realises at this point that he can speak Spanish.
It's quite convenient.
Very. But we know that anyway. Don't make him speak 7 languages. You should assume that Spanish would be...
One of them's hieroglyphics, yeah.
And after Al proved this, Sam decides to ask what his leap is all about.
Let's see, you get a football scholarship to UCLA, which will make your father puff out his chest another 4 inches.
He seems really taken with Chewie's mom.
Well, she was Rosa's best friend.
Rosa?
Yeah, that's your mother. Eddie's mother. She died when little Maria was born.
She died in childbirth?
Yeah, it happens.
What about Chewie's mom?
Celia never married. Of course, Chewie doesn't know that. He thinks his father was killed in an accident in Mexico before he was born. Which, by the way, was in El Paso, Texas, 3 days after his mother waded across the Rio Grande.
3 days?
Yeah.
She sneaked across the border 9 months pregnant?
Well, she wanted her kid to be born an American citizen. I mean, that's the story with our country. This mothers and fathers go through all kinds of hardships just to see that their kids get a better break than they had.
And this time it worked because Chewie's gonna get a scholarship, go to medical school, become a doctor.
Not quite.
What do you mean not quite? Did you see him catch that pass? The kid is terrific. Half the schools in this country got to be after him.
They are.
Oh, no. What, he gets hurt?
No. He throws the game. Playing against the Bulldogs for the city championship.
The way it plays out, though, I don't really understand how any college would know that's what had happened.
What do you mean the way it plays out?
At the end of the episode when he's faking the injury. He wouldn't lose a scholarship because they would just assume he actually was hurt.
Yeah, unless, of course, there was that Ruben, the dodgy character, it comes out he was involved in this, and then they look into it and investigate. Yeah.
So it turns out that Chewie's mother, Celia, is a vile, illegal immigrant who should be caged.
Well, that's why we're building a wall, isn't it?
Yes, keep these sorts out.
Jeez.
Separated from their children and stuff like that.
That's, yeah.
Don't want to encourage this sort of immigration.
No.
And Al, who's almost certainly a Republican, doesn't seem to have a problem with it.
I think Sam is as well, with some of his attitudes.
Yeah. I don't understand why Al isn't calling for their immediate deportation. I guess times have changed. Anyhow, the party continues a wee bit later on, and Chewie comes over looking for Sam because Carla is looking for him. He's kind of hidden away on a porch.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to approach his worries, but he starts by telling him that he really thinks they can win the championship.
No, Sam says he doesn't think they can win the championship. He thinks they might lose, which upsets Chewie, who says there's no way they're going to lose. He's angry at the idea of losing.
That's correct. I got that wrong, didn't I? I got it the opposite of what?
Almost. You were close.
Well, he encourages him to reveal his true feelings about that.
He does, and that's, so that gives Sam a hint as to how Chewie is positioned.
Yeah, he insists they're going to tear the tails off the Bulldogs.
Which Sam corrects him on.
I don't like that because it's not like the type, tearing the tails off, isn't it?
Speech, yeah.
No, but I mean, is it a figure? You wouldn't use that. Tear the tails off a dog. It's not a well-known.
No, I don't think. I guess not. We go back over to Manuel, who is still hitting on Celia and telling her about a restaurant that he wants to buy.
Yeah, but she seems unduly concerned that he's going to buy it from a dead guy.
Yeah, who might have died in the restaurant for all they know. Why would anyone go to a restaurant where somebody had died? I think people probably died in most restaurants at some point.
Of course. And hotel rooms.
Yeah, probably the one that people are staying in right now. And the houses that people have right now.
Did they not mention that here?
Well, he says that your house might have someone dying in it, and she says, no, they didn't. She knows.
Because she could speak to dead people.
Well, she could if there were any.
Anyway, yeah, he's not in a position to buy right now. He's saving up some money, but he's almost there, I think.
He's a little bit short. He'll get there.
And when she gets up to go and make some tartletas or tartletas?
Yeah, little fruit tarts, I think.
Right, okay. For the kids, he smells after her, which is noted by his young daughter, Maria, which I think embarrasses him a little bit.
Just a little. Al, at this point, asks Sam why he's not out at the party, and he says, acting my age.
Yeah, he says he'll always feel 16. That's no excuse, Al. The judge will not accept that. Like, why are you looking at these kids? Oh, I feel deep inside.
Point of order,
yeah.
Judge. You're only as old as the girl that you're feeling.
Yeah. Sam thinks that one of the reasons he feels this way is that's when he lost his virginity, which is rightly ridiculed by Al. I mean, Jesus, Sam. He knows Al well enough that he didn't wait until he was 16.
Yeah, and also, even if he had, why would you bring that up? That's a bit of a weird thing to start dropping in the conversation, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure, because Al relates most things to
I suppose,
sex. So.
Yeah, and that's the nature of the conversations that they have.
But I don't know if you noticed, I think there was a real, between the two actors, Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula, there was, if you watch this, there's a real sort of, they're almost as if they're holding back their laughter. I think they really enjoy this little interaction for whatever reason, but I noticed.
It's probably the 8th takes to get through it.
It was good.
Sam, at this point, questions what Ziggy's told them, saying that there's no way that Chewie's going to throw this game. Yeah,
after he discovered his passion for winning.
Yeah.
But Al insists that he does, but can't say why, as that kind of data is apparently locked in the human heart. This is nonsense. Because
but he knows about the post-game ritual.
He knows about people's virginity and things like that in the previous episodes. Yeah, this is just nonsense.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're back in the kitchen.
Yeah, a sleazy guy, which we learn is Ruben, the landlord.
That was a guy from the
bet in the crowd. Yes, he won the bet earlier. He approaches Celia and says that he questions why she's referring to this place as her house. She says mi casa, I think. Yeah,
he humiliates her as we discover that it is his house, which he rents to her, but she's not been paying the money. So it owes him $800.
Yeah, 3 months behind, which is $800. How much is that a month?
Is it not $800 a month?
No, it's $800 because later on he says next week it'll be $1,000.
Oh, right, okay. Seems pretty reasonable, to be fair.
Well, it's the 60s though, maybe.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah. She pleads that she has not been paid herself what she was due, and asks what she's meant to do. As he slobbers over one of the cakes with a hint that the payment May be provided in kind.
He's been watching those videos that start off with that conversation.
Some sort of fake landlord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, yes, she says she can pay it in a different way, with a cheque. This upsets Ruben, though. He kind of grabs her and hauls her back.
Yeah, he aggressively holds her head and pulls her towards him for a kiss.
And he says that he was going to let her off the hook because he likes her, but because she's kind of rejected this kiss, he wants his payment by noon tomorrow or she's out. He keeps moving this deadline, though.
Yeah.
Like, at least twice more.
He's sinister and stupid.
Both true, yes. She says she will get paid what she's owed this week. Seems that she's working somewhere that doesn't always pay her, and she can't do much about it because she's illegally in the country.
Of course, she's been exploited, yeah.
So she says that once she gets paid what she's due, she will pay her rent. But they're interrupted at this point by Chewie and Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's about to actually give him a kiss.
I think she's about to back down on that.
Yeah, upfront payment at least. Who knows where that might have led. But yeah, they're interrupted. And at this point, Ruben tells him that he's happy as his bet on his old school came up, even though Chewie remarks that he would bet against them if the odds were right.
Indeed. And then they start talking about the championship game. And Ruben says to let him know if they hear about any significant injuries in practice, which Sam immediately points out is illegal.
Is it illegal? It's a grey area.
Well, I think
it's
gambling
illegal.
not illegal generally at that point in America.
Yes, but that's okay. That's two different. There's two different things here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Is it illegal to tell someone if you're not involved in the bet? So if you just talk to your mate, like saying, "Oh yeah, see Jim, the quarterback's done his knee in," right? Now, if Jim then, if your mate then goes and puts a bet on, that placing the bet might be illegal, but if you're not trying to gain from it financially, you can, there's not some sort of secrecy law here that you have to abide by to tell people that someone's injured.
I'm not sure. On the way out, Ruben has the opportunity to turn back to Celia, and he tells her that she has until Friday now to pay one way or the other. So I think that's a different deadline from tomorrow.
Who knows?
Anyhow.
He doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, he's all over the place here, this Ruben.
He's away, and Chewie asks his mother what Ruben was talking about.
Yeah, but accepts her story that he was referring to shirts that he once sewed.
He's a bit credulous, isn't he?
Yeah, but Sam is clearly not convinced, and we hear him as he notes that he sometimes gets feelings that he must act upon. And so, outside, he steps in front of Ruben's car as he tries to drive off.
We got a problem?
I think you're why I'm here.
What?
Something's going on between you and Chewie's mom.
So?
So it's going to affect him. It's going to make him do something crazy.
So what are you, man? His papa?
No, I'm his friend. So I guess as his friend, I'm telling you to keep clear of Chewie and his... I want you to stay away from Chewie and his mom.
I don't think I heard you, punk.
I'll write it down if you can read.
Eddie, you've grown up. You talk big. Like a man. I hope you're ready to be treated like one.
Every time they refer to Chewie, I think of Star Wars.
Yes.
Don't do the...
No.
Okay. Where do we find ourselves next?
Al is keeping an eye on Carla cheerleading.
He certainly is. As they're practicing to an old school stripper score.
Are they?
Oh yeah, it's the type of thing that you would play, yeah. I've heard at these sort of places.
Al is astonished that Sam, being a football hero, with little girls ready to drop their pom-poms for him, is coming out onto the field reading a book.
Yeah, he's creepy in this episode. There's no way.
Also, he must understand that there's a playbook that you need to memorise as the quarterback to be able to run the plays.
Yeah, but not just that, but I mean, Sam obviously doesn't know any of these plays at all.
Yeah.
So he has to study up on what he's meant to be doing.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the thing. We need to discuss here again, it's the old same question. So Sam, like, I've never played this sport. Even if I knew the plays, I couldn't go out and play it because I don't have the physical ability to do it. I don't know how to do it. So how can Sam become a quarterback just by reading the book? I mean,
he must have the basic skill set.
Maybe we find out he was a player.
That's one of the questions I've got later on, though. Yeah, he plays at a high level here, enough to get scouted for major colleges. But anyway, in the meantime, Chewie comes over and tells Sam he is to lead calisthenics and he's to do 15 laps if he doesn't do it properly. Coach's instructions.
Yeah, I don't think Al appreciates this. He doesn't like the fact that they're being led by Jane Fonda.
No, he says he hates calisthenics unless it's being led by Jane Fonda.
That's what he said, yes.
There's a note on IMDb calling that a goof.
Okay.
It says that as a Vietnam veteran, Al would hate Jane Fonda.
I disagree.
I don't think that's universal. I thought that was quite...
No, but she's obviously very liberal and was anti-Vietnam.
Yeah, but I would imagine plenty of Vietnam vets were liberal and anti-Vietnam.
Yes, I think so. Especially after looking back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam gets Carla to play a record. It's La Bamba. And he leads the boys in a bit of dancercise.
Well, no, it's 80s aerobics. This is where the concept began.
Yeah, which is alien to all these high school footballers in the 60s, obviously.
Yeah, before the coach puts a stop to it and gives him 15 laps, which receives a round of applause from his teammates. So as he's running laps and the others practice, Sam takes the opportunity to ask Al about Ruben and finds out what.
So he tells him that he's kind of a slum landlord. He's got a lot of illegal residents as tenants. He's also a gambler. He deals with like high school football and basketball games that he can influence or fix.
Yeah. He also tells him that from Ziggy he's found out that Chewie has been paid to throw the game. This is definitely what's going to happen. And advises him to think with his head, not his heart, when Sam insists that Chewie would never do such a thing.
At this point, the rest of the team notice that Sam is talking to himself.
Yeah, they think it's hysterical that he is remonstrating with no one. But the coach doesn't see the funny side and gives him another 15 laps for being a clown and then increases it to 20 when he argues, which amuses Al, who promptly exits. Now, I was thinking that in these days, a football player doing that would immediately be taken to hospital. There'd be some sort of concussion or some sort of the duty of care from the coaches and even teammates. That would be a prime example of someone who had taken
He's into the concussion protocol and it's 2 weeks till he can play again.
Yeah.
Back in the locker room, another kid who looks about 30 asks Chewie if Sam is still outside doing laps.
And also if he thinks that he looks like Elvis, as we heard at the
well, yeah, that was Chewie then thought he could be Elvis himself after this other kid leaves.
And this is overheard by a Ruben who was apparently skulking in the shadows.
He tells Chewie it's a shame that he's not Elvis because if he was, then he could afford to buy his mother a new house and clothes, etc.
Yeah, now he claims he'll be able to do this when he becomes a doctor, but Ruben is more interested in her immediate financial predicament and reveals that she is working in a sweatshop without getting paid.
Yeah, Chewie didn't seem to know about that, and he also didn't know that she is 3 months behind in the rent and presumably owes money to others as well.
Yeah, this clearly takes a sort of wind out of him. He wasn't expecting that at all. And Ruben proceeds to play on his ego and states that he is the man of the family and that things they're not fair, but obviously there's a solution.
Yeah, he's obviously setting the gears into motion here to line up this championship game fix.
Yeah, he tells him that if he feels bad that he's going to have to ask them to leave. And at this, Chewie mentions that he can make it a grand on Saturday when they win. But this isn't how it works. This isn't an attractive proposition or alternative unless Chewie himself is putting the bet on, is staking.
Yeah, because you can just make that bet anyway.
Yeah, it's like if you
bet your money,
yeah,
and if we win, you pay off our debts.
It's like just betting that. How does that work? I owe someone money and I just tell them, do you know what? You just put a bet on, it'll be cool. Nah. Of course, Ruben only wants a sure thing and tells him that losing is the only guarantee to winning a bet and claims that if he does, then his mother's debts will be cleared And he'll even throw in a couple of months of free rent.
Sam shows up at this point to put a twig in the spokes.
Yeah, he's exhausted, but tries to throw Ruben out, and this results in a fight and upturned lockers, which is eventually stopped when the coach enters and splits them up and demands to know what is going on.
And Chewie comes up with the most ridiculous cover story.
Yeah, it's at all levels of creepiness.
Yeah, he says that this guy is a pal of his mother's who came with a message, and then Sam came in and started fighting because they fancy the same girl, which disgusts the coach.
Yeah, he asks if Ruben likes young girls or if it's Sam who likes older women.
Yeah.
And he then throws Ruben out with a warning that I think he says he'll bust his ass if he catches him in there again, and proceeds to have a go at his 2 star players.
Do you ever think what would happen if you busted your throwing hand, Vega? Or what would happen to your depth perception with one eye swollen shut, Martinez? If the team didn't need you to win the championship, I'd suspend the both of you. And I will, too, if I catch you at something like this again.
Can't do it, Chewie. Can't do what? Throw the game. I don't know what you're talking about, I say.
Damn it, Chewie, I know what you're gonna do.
Then don't throw the ball to me.
We next find ourselves on game day on the football field.
Championship game, and Ruben is in the crowd as the festivities begin while Manuel listens on in the radio from his taco truck.
Yeah, the place is buzzing with excitement, and even the unscrupulous Ruben is cheering for his team that he is bet against.
Yes, his old high school. For some reason, the Jaguars put their star quarterback in to return kicks at the start of the game.
Does that not happen?
No.
No.
No, it certainly wouldn't.
Okay.
Well, maybe at high school, I don't think so though. But yeah, Sam takes this first kickback.
Right, okay.
And gets tackled. I'm pretty sure it was Sam anyway. But then, on the first play, disaster strikes.
Sam gets the ball, throws it to his friend, who dives and catches it, but appears to have injured his leg.
Comes up lame, yes. Sam is not pleased because he knows what's going on, but Ruben in the crowd looks delighted. From Ruben's point of view, would he consider this enough?
No, well, see, that's a question I have. Would you rather have someone on the field who you know can influence the game in your favour deliberately, or have a good player taken out, but the substitute
might have the game of his life?
Yeah, and he's got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
So unless Ruben knows how good or bad the replacement is,
yeah.
But even then, yeah, he's going to be trying to win the game.
Yeah, we see that because it stays a close game even without this guy in the game.
Because if that was the plan, it'd be very easy before the game started just to say I'm injured in training.
Yeah.
And not even bother playing.
Yeah. But then other folk betting would change. The odds would change if they knew he was out before the game.
That's true, yeah. But in any case, we see Sam look at Chewie with a mix of disgust and disappointment on his face.
And as the game proceeds, we see all the other receivers playing as if they've got mittens on.
Yeah, we have a brief montage of them doing really badly without Chewie as he watches on, agitated with guilt, and Ruben doesn't try to conceal his delight.
Al shows up late in the game and tells Sam that he told them he would lose 14-9, which is the score at this point. So it's only a 5-point game. The other team only scored twice, and Sam's team's managed to score 3 times but not getting it into the end zone.
I've got a question about this we'll get to in a moment. What else does Al reveal here?
He's watching Super Bowl 30.
So at this point, what Super Bowl 30 was just approaching, is that right?
It was 5 years away when they made this. So it's 96.
All right, so what year was the actual Super Bowl 30?
January 96, the end of the 95 season.
Right, okay.
And this was being filmed in 1990, 91. Sure. And what Al says actually happens in Super Bowl 30. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Sam says he's not interested in the Super Bowl. The only game he cares about is the one that he's in, and he's blown it. Now,
this is the part I was talking about earlier on. He is having this conversation on the bench with lots of people around him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And no one mentions anything at all.
And then Al gives him bizarrely specific advice, which he doesn't normally do.
What's that?
He tells him to quit and normally it's Sam who comes up with these things, like ways to influence other people and how to go about things. But in this case, Al says to him, you need to quit like Chewie, because he says their bond's like our bond, and he'll respond to that.
Yeah, which is, yeah, I quite like the tactic, I must admit. But
there's no guarantee.
No, there's not a guarantee, but maybe that's the only option I've got. So I've got a question here about the score. Right, so there's only 23 seconds left, but with that montage, so that other team wasn't scoring.
They only scored twice.
They must be garbage as well.
Yeah. Or it's maybe Sam's team's got they're good at defending, because Chewie doesn't play that side of the ball, so they weren't weaker on that side.
Yeah. Okay.
So Sam's team have scored 3 times, but they're all kicks, so they've not got any touchdowns. The other team scored 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
So it's 14-9. It's a 5-point game. One score could swing it, but not a kick wouldn't be enough.
Okay. Anyway, Sam eventually understands and agrees with Al's tactic. So even though the coach pleads with him, he refuses to play, which causes Chewie to come over and remind him that the stands are full of scouts and quitting will mean no scholarship.
Yeah, and then suddenly you see it sort of the realisation dawn on Chewie that might apply to him as well.
Yeah, I think Al remarks that Chewie is getting the message as we see Manuel join Celia in the stand and find out that his son is refusing to play.
Yes, he's not very, or certainly he's a bit confused about that. And we see Chewie, he's still not completely on board. He's still quite annoyed. He said, "Don't throw to me."
Yeah, he's agreed to go back on the field, but Sam smiles at this request as Al points out that is exactly what he has to do.
So out in the field, Sam calls the play in the huddle, which is a pass to Chewie, who warns him that he'll drop it. Surely the other guys hear him saying this.
Yeah, you would have thought so. In any case, the play is made, the pass is thrown, and Chewie jumps to receive it. But you're expecting, obviously, the typical sort of Hollywood ending. What
big
happens?
Play. He doesn't get it.
I like that false ending. He misses, and they lose to the predicted 14-9.
Time's up. But there's a twist.
VAR.
The game can't end on a defensive penalty. And there's a foul against the Bulldogs.
For interference, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's implemented slightly wrong. Although the next play's a little bit confusing.
Perhaps Al was involved. If there's one person in this episode who was into a bit of interfering.
Yes, well. So from what the coach says, it seems they're right down at the goal line.
Okay.
Because he calls for a full-back dive. He thinks they only need 1 yard to win the game. But the way that the next play goes, Sam seems to run around quite a bit and throw the ball quite far for being 1 yard away from the end zone.
Yeah, I think he goes against the coach's instructions.
Well, he can see that the run's not going to succeed because the way that the other team have lined up, they're going to block that play. So he pretends to hand the ball off to the fullback and fools, it's called play action. He fools not only the other team, but also the commentator who thinks the run has failed. So he commentates that the game's over, the run has failed, that despite this penalty, the Bulldogs still win. But then he realises that Sam still has the ball.
And instead, he throws it to Chewie, who this time does catch it and scores the winning touchdown.
He does. He did catch it.
Yeah. And as the team celebrate, we see Ruben being asked for money by his friend in the stand.
Yes, he doesn't look very happy.
Well, you wouldn't be.
Especially if you thought you had it fixed. And it comes down to the last play, and twice you think you've succeeded. Anyway, back to another after party, and Sam wonders why he hasn't leaped.
Yeah, they're all having a good time, but he is told that a man's work is never done by Al.
Yeah, he corrects the phrase, and we see Ruben show up.
With some goons that are there to evict Celia on the spot. He's obviously in a very bad mood.
Yeah, so Manuel says he'll pay what she owes Ruben, but she won't let him because it's for the restaurant.
Yeah, he insists the restaurant can wait, and in any case, she hates it because of the ghosts.
And she says, it's not the restaurant, it's specifically the restaurant that she doesn't like. She thinks that he should invest instead in more taco trucks.
Yeah, and at this point, Al checks Ziggy to report that their trucks could turn into a $1 million business.
It's a bit of an odd moment to give some business advice.
Well, has he not looked to the
No,
future?
from Celia.
All right.
So you're being evicted. Oh no, instead invest in taco trucks.
Yeah. Sam asks about his use of the word there, and what does Al tell him?
He says that the two of them could end up together with a bunch of kids, but Sam has to make it happen. But then he kind of, I think, oversteps the mark slightly.
Yeah, he certainly does. He tells the goons to put all the stuff in his yard as Chewie will be sleeping in his room, and Celia can sleep with Manuel. And obviously, his friend takes offence to this.
Best friend or no, you can't talk to my mama like that. I can if she's my mama too. Yeah. Why not?
It is a good idea. It would solve all your problems, Celia.
I don't marry you to solve problems.
You mean you'd marry me because
Because you love me?
This is great, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
you gonna make it?
They're gonna make it? Sure they're gonna make it. Oh, they're also gonna make Jesse, Donna Linda, Carmelina, and Rosa.
It cost you a bundle, man.
I'll get even. As soon as I call immigration.
Wait. Chew. It's okay. My dad's a citizen. As soon as they're married, your mom automatically becomes one too. Got him nodded.
Sam, do it, Sam.
No wonder Chewie's upset that Sam suggested that his mother just jump into Sam's father's bed without any kind of romantic relationship taking place beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that all the three guys decided in our future and our marital status.
Oh, yeah, she's been outvoted. That's it. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
But hey, she gets to produce some more babies, and one of them gets named after his dead first wife that he obviously still cares about.
Very awkward.
Yeah, a little bit. I liked Ruben getting his comeuppance at the end there a little bit.
I would have preferred a punch to the face.
Yes, but the Roar Jaguars thing was keeping in with the theme of the moment.
Certainly was.
Sam at this point leaps back into Jesse Tyler, so there must be a rerun next week.
I'm sick of Jesse, to be fair.
Yeah, he keeps making the same mistake.
Yeah, back into the old racist cafe.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's us.
Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of things that I noted already. Things like there's no discussion around Sam learning to play quarterback at a high enough level to win the game, like there was when he was playing the piano, for example. He obviously just confident in his ability.
How hard can it be?
I can beat some high school kids. Do you think Celia showed any indication that she wanted to marry Manuel?
Yeah, I think she did.
Do you think she did?
Well, maybe not marries fairly strong, but I think there was a connection there. You could see.
There was a connection, but it seemed like they were holding back because he was widowed and
yeah,
she was a single mother, and there was kind of these societal barriers. And
I think that they needed something to get them going. They both wanted it, but hadn't made the first move.
But it's not a bit of a scandal for the first move that they make for them to move in together.
The type of thing that would get investigated, people marrying just for this purpose, and they say that the whoever it is, the Homeland folk or whoever that does it comes along and.
Do you think Ruben's got time to get her deported before the wedding?
Yeah, we hadn't done a week or two back then.
Yeah, well, maybe. Any other thoughts?
No, it was okay. I liked it.
Yeah,
it was different, I suppose.
Yeah,
ish. Well, I say different, but exactly the same as every other.
We're not blown away by this one. I don't think it was fine.
It was fine. Yeah, I didn't dislike it. I didn't think this is terrible when I was watching it.
No,
the things that stand out, however, are Al being inappropriately pervy.
Yep.
And the Sam chatting overtly
to Al on a public area. Yeah. Some trivia.
Before we do that,
okay,
I'm going to suggest another little mini section at the end here.
On you go.
It dawned on me, I'm annoyed we didn't do it from the start. So we get given a date every single episode.
Yep.
Let's pull out a few pieces of trivia from something that happened on that,
so
that day in history. I have done it for this week, yeah. Just two things. Ted Kennedy was elected Senator of Massachusetts on the 6th of November 1962. And also Saudi Arabia abolished slavery. So they say. Officially.
Yeah. Okay. Kennedy replaced his brother, didn't he? Who had become president. But there must have been, I think what happened, if I remember rightly, he'd been sitting in the seat on a sort of temporary basis, and then he got elected and a full term in 62.
Okay.
Obviously, JFK won the 60 election.
Sure.
This originally aired on the 17th of January 1990. It was directed by John Cullum. You'll remember that name.
He was in, he was the actor.
Yes, in Catch a Falling Star. He played John O'Malley. You can hear more about him on that podcast, but I would note that this is the only screen directorial credit of his entire career.
From a direction point of view, I think it was fine.
I imagine he probably directed in the theatre.
Yeah.
Paul Brown wrote the episode, 4th of his 13. Hear more about him back on Kamikaze Kid, Season 1. Chewie was played by Richard Coca. This was his only Quantum Leap. He also showed up on series like MacGyver, LA Law and Baywatch, and his most recent screen credit was in 2013. His mother Celia was played by Ruth Britt. Again, this was her only Quantum Leap and one of the last screen appearances of her career. She had previously been on shows like Spencer for Hire, Airwolf and Quincy, amongst others. Manuel was played by Pepe Serna.
Now, he is prolific, and I've seen him in so many things, especially through the 80s and the 90s, yeah.
So he was on things like TJ Hooker, The A-Team, Knight Rider. He's in movies like Silverado, Scarface, The Rookie. Yeah. He's now 78, still seems to be active.
All the greats. The Rookie.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood that and Charlie Sheen, I believe.
Could be.
It's all right. Well, when I say it's all right, it's garbage.
Yeah. The coach was played by Robert Benedetti.
Now, I thought his face was very familiar, and I think I might be thinking of someone else because I had a quick glance at his CV and I didn't really recognise him from much.
So this was his only Quantum Leap. He's been in things like Cheers, LA Law, Hill Street Blues. He hasn't acted on screen since 1998, but he's now 83 years old.
Do you know what? I might be thinking that it just reminds me a little bit of Don Knotts.
Maybe.
A young Don Knotts. Anyway.
So there's a character called Hal, which I think was one of the teammates. Not 100% sure. But anyway, played by Ralph Monaco. This was his only Quantum Leap. He appeared in things like Ghostbusters 2, Ed Wood, ER, Murder 1, and 1 Columbo.
Oh, okay, we've not had a connection for a while.
Not for a while, that's why I had to mention him. He was a dispatcher in Ashes to Ashes.
Memorable role, I remember that.
I'm sure, yeah. Carla, you remember Carla?
Oh yeah, Carla.
She was played by Marie Calder. First screen appearance of her career, actually, in her only Quantum Leap episode. But she went on to show up on things like Married with Children, Star Trek Voyager, NYPD Blue, and Desperate Housewives, and her most recent screen credit was in 2015. So we touched on this during the episode, but the show correctly predicted that the Steelers would be in Super Bowl 30 and trail by 3 at one point. The game was played at the end of the 1995 season, I think January 96, won by the Dallas Cowboys 27-17 over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's good.
The footage that we saw in the after party of the street party was from the 1987 movie La Bamba. This is the first time we get Deborah Pratt as the voiceover. We mentioned that at the start, so we saw her in Portrait for Troyan. I think this is the third episode so far to end with Sam looping into Jesse. I'm not convinced it's the last. It might well come up again. In terms of things that we learned, Al's in 1996. We know that from the Super Bowl. So that's the first time we really get a solid date on him. Sam can speak Spanish. And then from the voiceover at the start, we learned why he went into the accelerator.
Remind me again.
About funding and stuff to prove the science.
To prove the science, it should still be more controlled. You don't just jump in yourself. So. It's like, okay, we need to... This is actually would have the opposite effect. It's like you're taking risks, let's shut this whole thing down.
Well,
you're now putting yourself in a position where you've got to change time just to get back.
Yeah.
It's an absolute liability.
Madness, you might say. Next week's episode, unless you've got any other things that we learned.
Nah.
Next week we've got Her Charm, where Sam has to protect a woman in witness protection after a failed prosecution.
It's a weird name for an episode.
We'll see you in 1973.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.